listening to The Mark Cox Show. Follow Mark on Twitter at MarkCox971.
Lawmakers are taking a new look at rules about guns on planes after Friday's airport shooting in Fort Lauderdale. Investigators say Esteban Santiago traveled with the gun he used in the deadly rampage from Alaska to Florida via Minneapolis.
I'm watching CBS. I told you this on Friday. The first thing the media would do, I said, oh, God, as soon as I learned that this guy shot somebody with a weapon that he got out of his own checked piece of luggage, I thought every liberal in America is going to be shocked that you're allowed to fly with a gun. They're going to act like they never knew that in your checked luggage, and then they're going to want to do something about it because that must be the reason this happened. And sure enough, I wake up this morning to CBS News. I listen to Nora O'Donnell read that lead-in, and then I listen to this story by one of the reporters who ran over and interviewed Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Here at LaGuardia Airport, the baggage pickup is right there, just a few steps from the door to the outside, and there is little or no security in between. So it's easy to imagine someone bringing a gun from there into here, but every day the guns are coming in the other direction, from the baggage carousel. Part of the surprise of Friday's shooting is the fact the gunman arrived on an incoming flight, and so did his gun. Last year, the TSA reported confiscating more than 3,300 firearms from carry-on bags. But the agency allows guns in checked luggage. They have to be unloaded and locked in a hard-sided container, and owners have to declare them at the ticket counter.
We're going to have to take a hard look once and for all at the unsecured areas of our airports.
Chicken crap.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz, stop. Go crawl back in whatever hole you were hiding in after you had to resign from the DNC. We don't want to listen to it. I'm telling you what. We're joined right now by Michael Hammond. He is legislative counsel for the Gun Owners of America. Michael, how are you, sir?
How are you, Mark? And hello, St. Louis. And guess what?
What's that?
In Florida, the baggage claim isn't a, quote, unsecured area of the airport. In Florida is one of the 6 states in the country that doesn't allow you to carry guns anywhere in the airport. 6 states in the country, and yet guess what? The guy shows up, he is intent on murdering a whole lot of people, which is illegal, and so he has no problem with also getting a gun, which is illegal.
Yeah, they never see. I knew this was going to happen, and they never even. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's an airport or if it's a shopping mall. You can put whatever sign you want on the door, but criminals don't pay any attention to that stuff.
And it's counterproductive. By putting that sign on the door, what you're saying to criminals is, hey, you can get your 15 minutes of fame here. And believe me, of the past 800 mass shootings, that is the solitary reason for every one of them. You can get your 15 minutes of fame here, and you don't have to worry that anyone is going to fire back. And guess what? We pay $60 billion a year to DHS, primarily, I think, to secure airports, and there wasn't anyone with a gun anywhere near in sight. This guy was able to reload a new magazine, kill 5 people, injure 9 people without anyone being there who had the capacity to stop it.
You know, I think it's safe to say that people probably ship thousands of firearms a week in this country, wouldn't you say?
At the very least that. I mean, anyone who wants to go hunting someplace other than their own state is going to put a gun in their baggage. You take it to the counter. By and large, it's checked at the counter by a TSA personnel who's primarily interested in knowing whether it's loaded or unloaded, and then you check it. In some places like New York State, they have a 2-step process whereby you take it to the New York State Police desk first, and then you take it to the counter. But either way, anyone who wants to go hunting in Montana or hunting in Maine or hunting in Colorado or hunting in someplace other than the place they live is going to take a gun with them, and they're going to take a gun with them in their checked baggage on the airliner.
Yeah, I listened to that CBS report, and they actually took the time to mention that every year the TSA collects like 3,300 weapons from people who either left them in a carry-on or forgot that they had them in a coat jacket or something like that, to try to draw a parallel here where there isn't one.
People who carry concealed in order to protect themselves, and it didn't occur to them that they need to take it out of their purse because they're going to the airport.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There are much bigger issues here, not the least of which is people had known about this guy's mental illness dating back to 2011. I heard interviews with family members who said that, when he came back from the war, he wasn't right, and he'd been hearing voices. And
yeah, the family said he was crazy. But aside from that, in the last year, he walked into an FBI office and said the CIA had entered his brain and told him to start watching ISIS videos. I mean, if that's not a red flag, what is?
Yeah, that's a good question. So here, what I started to talk about earlier, but I don't quite feel like I've probably qualified to determine what the answer is. If you start trying to strengthen the mental health laws in this country, who decides when you're crazy enough that you shouldn't have a gun? I mean, that's kind of what this comes down to, right?
The VA is currently engaging in that process as it is.
Right.
This guy was a veteran. The VA didn't track him or try to take his guns away, and yet 257,000 veterans have had their guns taken away. Most of them people who had a traumatic experience in Iraq and have come back and want to talk about it with someone. But what happens is it depends on what psychiatrist you go to. If you go to one VA psychiatrist, he may take away your guns simply because you said you had bad dreams. And under those circumstances, guess what? You're not going to get your guns back because it's going to cost $10,000 to hire an attorney to appeal that determination. That diagnosis of that shrink is, in fact, the be-all and end-all over whether you can exercise your constitutional rights. So the notion that, okay, we need to start taking guns away from people who have mental problems, I mean, that's a real slippery slope, as we found out with veterans.
Oh, sure. But I suspect that'll be the next call by these folks because if they realize that they're not going to be able to go in and stop people from being able to ship weapons from point A to point B in a checked luggage, they're gonna ramp up and start pushing for some sort of mental health standard. And
we had that standard. They made the same cry and hue after Virginia Tech,
right.
And the NRA negotiated with Chuck Schumer, never a particularly good move,
to
negotiate a bill which was signed into law by George Bush and which set that standard and which allowed all those veterans to lose their guns. We took care of this problem, but guess what? If you're the crazy anti-gun left, a problem is never taken care of, and a tragedy is simply another platform for you to demand the next tranche of gun control.
Yeah, very, very true. And in this particular case, we know the cry is coming. We just hasn't ramped up beyond Debbie Wasserman Schultz so far. But to hear the media tell it, legislators, plural, are now demanding changes.
Yeah, well, I bet this cry is less loud than the previous cries because, lo and behold, there are things which are inconvenient for the media. Most notably, the guy had walked into an FBI office and announced that he was crazy. Secondly, and they didn't put him on no-fly list, and if he had been on no-fly list, irrespective of whatever other legislation existed, he couldn't have flown to Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
So that's first thing. Second thing is that he admitted to the government that he was sitting around listening to ISIS videos. And the third thing is I take it that they're a little uncomfortable about the fact that the guy grew up in Puerto Rico and was a U.S. citizen, but, didn't fit into the demographic which the liberals are trying to cultivate.
It's a good point. Michael Hammond with the Gun Owners of America. Direct people to GOA.org. It's a great place to go up and sign up for legislative updates and find out what they're doing to protect your rights. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, Michael, take care. Thank you. Appreciate that. Michael got some St. Louis links here. Went to Washington University, as I remember from our past interviews with him. Always appreciate his time. Putting a little perspective on that whole situation for you.